Hey, what's going on, Minnesota Vikings fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I am Kyle Smith, accompanied by Kyle West.
Hey, I am here, ready to talk Vikings football.
And our anchor man, not to be confused with Will Ferrell, Adam Carlson.
I always get last billing on this. I mean, it's not that I mind or anything, but
Hey, we saved the best for last.
Trying to get a little bit of a complex here, I think.
You know what? I'm going to vary it up week to week. I'm just going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do next week and be like, welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I'm Adam Carlson.
And this is Chair.
Just do it Borat
This
style.
is Chair. Loud noises.
Loud
Purple
noises.
People Podcast.
While I put mayonnaise in a toaster. Best thing ever. But this is episode number 270. We call it The Jungle Cook. And
We immediately went from like 4 to 1 viewers after that intro, by the way.
Oh, yes.
That was amazing to watch happen.
look, some of you guys don't get our humor here, and you would think that if we made a pun about DALVIN Cook, which we're going to talk about here in a second, you would think we're being awful. We're just being degenerates. We're not being serious. Obviously, we are saddened by the news. And we will talk about this right now, and I will jump in. If you have not heard, if you've been under the rock the last 24 hours, our rookie sensation running back, DALVIN Cook, is out for the season with a torn ACL. The good news that I had heard from watching Mike Zimmer's press conference today is it's a clean tear, which means should be average recovery time. We have been known to do pretty good with ACL tears here in Minnesota, but might be worried about a little bit of meniscus problem here and there, but it's very early on since it happened a day ago. He said the swelling has to go down before they can actually go do the surgery. So send your thoughts and prayers to DALVIN Cook because we are going to have to go with the next man up, which is Latavius Murray. So we'll see how he does. But if you guys didn't watch the game this weekend, there was a football game. We're going to talk about it here. The Detroit Lions came into Minnesota, and we will talk about the outcome of that. But first, at that game, former Vikings great Ahmad Rashad joined the Vikings Ring of Honor.
Yeah, Ahmad Rashad, 2 times he went over 1,000 receiving yards in his career. And, of course, if you have never looked it up and your parents or grandparents or older neighbor has never told you the story about the miracle at the Met, you got to Google that stuff and watch it because that is an amazing, amazing situation. When I was waiting in line to meet Ahmad Rashad at TCO this weekend, there was a gentleman in line with a ticket stub from that game. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, you know, that is a major piece of history. I mean, it's kind of compared to a little bit about how fans these days remember so much the Favre to Greg Lewis in the end zone. You know, if you were at that game, you know how that feels, just, you know, the jolt of energy. And Ahmad Rashad, he took that NFL career where he felt that resurgent working with Bud Grant in Minnesota. And he took that energy and his own knowledge and he moved on after the NFL to become a fantastic NBA commentator, NBA inside stuff, inside the NBA. I believe that even he still has lifelong friendships with a lot of people in the NBA, including Michael Jordan, who was at the ceremony where he was inducted, which is absolutely cool. It was so neat to meet Ahmad Rashad. Seems like a fantastic guy. I can't say enough positive things about him.
Adam, while we're talking about it with you, just tell everybody else who you get to meet recently. Adam's been on a roll up in Minnesota, and he's got.
It was a good week. I started getting my football signed this week. Ahmad Rashad and Adam Thielen were at the TCO. I got to meet Anderson Dejo over at Caribou Coffee, and I went to a recording of Vikings Country where I got to meet Everson Griffin, that was all pretty cool.
So Adam Carlson, our own leader of the show, is making his rounds and getting that football signed.
And I'm getting weirdly recognized from Snapchat and other events, so I don't know. It's weird.
I told everybody before the show that I was at work, and I told all the guys there, I was like, oh, my God, this is the guy I do the podcast with, because, you know, they always make fun of me. And, oh, you do a podcast? Really? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just cooler than you. I was like, that's the guy. That's my dude right there. So that was pretty cool. Some people appreciate it when you get to meet players like that. And I'll give you the shout-out, too, since you talked about it between us. Adam's not having to pay for these. So all these autographs he's getting for free.
No, they're open to the public. I mean, you may have to wait in line a while. And I told myself when I started getting my football signed that I'm not going to do the shows where you got to pay, you know, so much money for a player autograph. Like Jared Allen was doing a signing that I could have gone to. But to get his signature on my football, it would have been $129.
What?
Yeah, that's not happening.
Brett Favre stuff right there. No, I'm all right. Thanks.
But yeah, Ahmad Rashad got his purple jacket a couple days before the ceremony at halftime against the Lions. But they did unveil his plaque up there with the other greats. It kind of like they did with Randy Moss in Week 1, which was fantastic. He got to give his little speech up there, which was cool. I thought that was neat. I'm going to be putting a video of that up on the Viking Age here pretty soon because it was shared by the Vikings over on Twitter. So, not Twitter, but YouTube. It's up on YouTube if you want to check it out. But yeah, that's a cool piece of history, and I'm really glad to see him being a Viking for life, as he said in his interview. Once a Viking, always a Viking. And you love hearing that. You really do.
That's awesome. Kyle, we kind of jumped in front of you, man. You got any thoughts on that?
And I have been talking to everyone in the chat. We have so many people with us here today. Adam, you want to go through it and give a shout-out to everyone who was in the chat for us?
Absolutely. We got Scott Schwab here, along with Dorian Foley, Tommy Gunn, Eric Grandal. We got Yin Yaj here. We've got so many people hanging out with us, and we really appreciate you coming in and chatting with us. And I know that all you guys are here because we're going to be talking about some sad news, along with some good news. Like I said, we got the Ahmad Rashad stuff and some other positive stuff coming up. So it's going to be a mix. We'll be discussing it all.
So we'll move on to the next quick hit. From Week 3, when we faced the Buccaneers, three Vikings faced fines. Cornerback Xavier Rhodes, $9,115 for taunting. Safety Andrew Sendejo, $24,309 for a helmet hit on Bucks Cameron Brate. And Anthony Barr was fined $18,231 for a horse collar tackle on Charles Sims. I never quite understood the formula to get these weird dollar amounts. I know it's probably based on their salary.
Number of offenses, salaries. It's a formula.
It's weird, but that sucks. They got especially one last week with Xavier Rhodes getting taunting. I mean,
what does that money go towards?
I guarantee you it goes into
where does it go?
Roger Goodell's trust fund. That's where I'm saying it. I'm calling it. That's 100% fact right here. You heard it first.
I believe the Rhodes penalty came from a play after the interception from Trey Waynes, where that taunting took place. Andrew Sendejo's helmet hit, I believe, was nullified because it was an offsetting penalty on holding. So while it wasn't a penalized play, it was a fined play. Meanwhile, the horse collar tackle on Anthony Barr was Anthony Barr running behind running back Charles Sims and catching up to him and being able to grab whatever he could grab. So I still sometimes am in awe of how Anthony Barr can catch up to these running backs, but he's a speedy fella.
Moving on right along, speaking of Xavier Rhodes, more positive news. Xavier Rhodes was a guest coach at Edison High School where he donated $1,000 to their athletic program. Pretty cool. I got to see this video. I think it was on the Vikings app. Maybe it was on their Instagram story. But just to see, like, you know, if I was a young player, like I said before, one of these similar stories, how good that must feel if you're a younger player. You see a star, because Xavier is arguably the best corner in the league right now. He gets to come out, you know, you get to rub elbows with him and give you some tips how to make your game better. I think that's pretty awesome. I think that speaks high volume for his character. So that was a pretty cool thing to read.
Absolutely. Scott Schwab actually was driving and pulled over to watch the podcast. So that's some extra love there.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. We hope to make this worth your stop.
Yaj says, I'd like to see more CJ Ham involved in ways other than blocking. You and me both. I was calling for it. I was calling for it on Twitter during the game.
I think now you will. I think now that they will have an opportunity to game plan with him being a part of it, I think you'll see him get some more carries. He's essentially just a big running back that they have listed as a fullback. So with there being an opening now, I think that you will see him get some more touches.
Are you
Dorian
sure?
Foley lets out a big Razor Ramon hey yo as well as a skull. So always good to have some of that going on.
You guys sure CJ Ham's going to get more of the workload? I thought we were signing Adrian Peterson tonight.
Oh, it's amazing how fast that train picked up.
Oh, you guys are going to hear me rant about that later. Oh, we'll get to that later. But kind of a weird bullet, but I really like this because I love the NFL as a whole. Deshaun Watson Clemson champion last year and rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans, joined Fran Tarkenton yesterday as the only rookie quarterback in NFL history with 250-plus passing yards, 4 touchdown passes, and a rushing touchdown in a single game. This coming via Gil Brandt. Yeah, I saw the best meme ever. You guys will love this yesterday. It said, here's a recap quickly of the Texans and Titans game. You remember when Andre Johnson beat the hell out of Cortland Finnegan?
Oh, yes.
That was the game if you missed it yesterday. Tennessee had some steam. I think they beat Seattle last week. But, man, Tennessee might be legit. And the Texans whooped the shit out of them yesterday. So
it wasn't even close.
It was terrible. They'll meet again because they're division rivals, but it'll be in Tennessee next time, so that'll be cool. But Deshaun Watson joining the likes of Fran Tarkenton. Looks like Houston made the right move so far. We'll see how the rest of the season plans out.
Surprised he fell that far in the draft.
I wanted to add that one in there because I thought it showed just how good of a quarterback Fran Tarkenton was. That it took all the way from then until now for another rookie quarterback, to match what he did. And you look at just the volume of players that have played and all the excellent quarterbacks, and no one has done it since Fran Tarkenton. So I think,
especially as a rookie, I've seen this.
As a rookie, yeah.
Got some guys like Cam Newton. You guys move around, but yeah, Deshaun Watson, and this could tie into something that me and Kyle West were making fun of yesterday. We were talking about how stupid the Jets are. At least they're not they can't even win at the right time because now they're ahead in their division, and they whiffed on Deshaun Watson. They easily could have had him last year, so that was stupid of them. But that's really funny. I just want to throw a little bit of shade at the Jets because they're terrible. Moving on, I want to clarify on this next quick hit because Mike Zimmer hit on it today. Latavius Murray said that his ankle is still not 100%. Mike Zimmer said in his Monday interview, as he does every Monday or following game day, that he thinks that Latavius misspoke on this. He said to Mike Zimmer, I don't think anyone playing in the NFL is 100% at any given time. But he said that he is very ready to go. So maybe he misspoke. That's in Mike Zimmer's words. He said, I think my player misspoke. So he's pretty much saying, hey, don't say that.
Well, during the interview, too, Murray did say that, well, he doesn't feel like he's 100%. He is ready for what is going to be a bigger workload. So don't take it as Murray saying that he's not ready for action or –
which is exactly what the media did.
Oh, absolutely.
They totally ran with it. Yeah. You idiots. Did you listen to the interview? No, you just grabbed it and made a headline.
The sound bites are great.
Mm-hmm.
Super frustrating. Next up, we have Peter Schrager calling assistant coach George Patton one to watch going forward. I'm assuming from this it means
assistant GM General Patton. He was labeled as one to watch going forward, and this should be absolutely no surprise because for the past 3-4 seasons, there have been a lot of teams approaching Patton about becoming a team's general manager or coming to their organization in a different role, and so far he's been shutting every single one of them down. I'm not sure how much longer the Vikings are going to be able to hold on to him because there's this weird thing where the more you tell people no, the more they want you. And that seems to be the case with Patton, who is going to...
That's the prom queen ideology right there.
Oh, yes.
Want what you can't have, but I like it.
Him and Rick Spielman have a great relationship, and I don't see him wanting to leave because right now I believe he is getting paid like a general manager so that he won't leave. But hopefully he feels enough familiarity with this franchise, feels enough of a family atmosphere that he doesn't want to take off somewhere else. But it is something that we are going to have to kind of keep an eye on in the future. And although the front office moves don't get a ton of attention unless it's, a general manager or a head coach these days, the assistant GM does a lot of work. And for the Vikings to lose him, that would be a huge loss. Now, maybe you guys can explain the next quick hit because I don't know what that is.
I blame Kyle for this.
What did I do?
Kyle, the Bitmojis quick hit. I have no idea.
I added it, but I don't know what a Bitmoji is.
It's a Snapchat thing.
Okay, so Bitmojis, if you guys didn't know, that came off really snarky at you, Adam. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that to come off at all that way.
I have no idea what it is.
If you have a Bitmoji, it's basically like a little cartoon character of yourself, and you can dress it up to how you look. Like mine has glasses because I'm blind without glasses or contacts. It's got my little comb over that I like to do and all that stuff. So you can dress yourself up as you would like. But now you can dress yourself in Minnesota Vikings gear on your Bitmoji, which is that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to look and learn how to find that. So, Adam, if you have that, send that to me on the side because I need to put myself in a DALVIN Cook shirt. Or
cool. You can explain to me what a Bitmoji is in the meantime.
Well, that was it. It's on Snapchat. Mini character of you, pretty much. That's it. You guys that have Snapchat, you'll know if you have the Bitmoji up. Now you can put it in some Vikings gear and look cool.
Oh, okay.
Moving right along, Vikings team up with United Healthcare to help hungry families. I don't know much about this one.
This was a fantastic thing. We saw last year where Eric Kendricks did the Sacks for Lunch program, and that's back this year. I believe it's tackles this year. You can pledge a certain amount per tackle. But they're over at Harvest Heartland. They've got a real cool program going on. Laquan Treadwell, Eric Kendricks, Kyle Carter, Bronson Hill. You got the Vikings cheerleaders as well as Vikings legends Dave Osborne, Tyrone Carter, and others that went there to help pack up meals to send to families in need. And there's some real touching stories on Vikings.com of Laquan Treadwell and Kendricks talking about both needing help, because of their family situation as they were growing up, and how this situation of helping out kids in need and hungry families, it holds a special place in their hearts. So I recommend you check it out because it really is a cool article, and it's really nice to see these guys giving back to the community, especially when it's something that is real close to them and their families.
Speaking of Deshaun Watson earlier, I heard something about that too. I apologize, people. I know this isn't a Houston Texans podcast, but something similar to this. I like to spread positive news around because Dalvin Cook, and then we're going to touch on Las Vegas at some point in this show, or at least I am, just briefly. But I saw that too. Watson donated one of his game checks. It's like around $27,000 to an organization that helps build houses, because I think the same player that did it before actually gave his family a house growing up because they helped donate as well. So I love it when teams give back to the community like that, man. It's so heartwarming. It's just great. It doesn't fill your heart with sadness or negativity like everything else. So that's really cool to hear. Not unlike Minnesota to do stuff like this, though.
Well, we see a lot in the news these days of situations that are tearing people apart. And that's why I think it's important right now to focus on some of the stories that are helping to pull people together and, extending a helping hand to people at a time when others are cutting each other down. The positivity is something I really appreciate, and especially when it's helping people in need. It's fantastic to see, and it's one reason why I keep focusing on it. Every time we do these shows, if I see a story where even a small amount of help is being given out, I'm there with it, and I'm ready to talk about it.
I love it. So I'm going to tie these next two quick hits into one because they kind of relate together because it's going to be the same game. MICHAEL FLOYD, our wide receiver that we acquired, he's going to be eligible to return for Week 5 in Chicago against the Bears.
Well, let's talk about that for a quick second here, too, because the Vikings already are carrying, in my opinion, an extra wide receiver. So what's going to happen when Floyd becomes activated? Are we going to see either Adams or Coley get cut and hopefully brought to the practice squad?
That's my guess because Rodney Adams has only been active for the preseason. I haven't seen him much at all. I know he didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, neither were inactive yesterday.
Neither were active. I'm assuming MICHAEL FLOYD being a former first-round pick and being a veteran, he's probably going to get added to the roster. One of those guys are going to have to take a back seat to the practice squad. I don't know. I'm glad that he's coming back. I think he's pretty sure-handed. Just my thought on MICHAEL FLOYD is, has he grasped the offense enough? I mean, he played in New England last year at some point, so I don't think Minnesota is going to be much more complex, if it even is as complex as what Bill Belichick does. So I think he's going to be fine. But just seeing how he's going to contribute, two of our guys are number 1 and number 3 in the league right now in receiving. So not sure how big of a role he's going to have. But if he's a team player like he says he is, he can come in and help block for Murray or just try to find ways to make plays, which I'm sure at this point in his career he's like just thankful to have a job and he'll at least contribute or at least attempt to contribute. So I'm excited to have him. I'm excited to see what he can do.
In the chat, we've got a comment that they don't believe he'll be able to play until Week 6, but he can return to the team now. So I'm searching that up right now to see how accurate
I think that was a comment about Teddy.
Oh, that's Teddy?
We were talking about Teddy. Yeah, that was the comment about for when Teddy can come back.
He's got to be off, but Teddy's got to be off the PUP list by week 6, but I'm not sure when he's going to return.
I think he's got to be off by week 6, but then he would be eligible to play week 7, I think is how that works for Teddy.
Which I believe that's what, the Ravens game or something close to it?
Offhand, I don't know.
I'll look that up for you guys now. I'll read this next one to you. Speaking of the Bears, second overall pick from this year's draft, quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, former North Carolina Tar Heel. He's going to make his debut because apparently it's time to move on from the Mike Glennon train. Didn't see that one coming. Shocking.
And they gave him a lot of cheddar to be a quarterback.
Here's $10 million. Play 3 games and get the hell out of here.
How can I make that kind of money?
Please. I will come in and botch a game for a veteran minimum 1-game check. That's all I need.
No doubt.
I'll turn around and hand it to whoever. That is fine by me. We'll set an NFL record of 0 passes, and we only run the ball like the Air Force Academy does in college. Just nothing.
Run the old Tim Tebow offense.
But yeah, you guys, I think it's going to be exciting. A lot of people scoffed at, including myself, the thought that Mitch Trubisky was going to be anywhere close to a first-round pick. But the Bears believed in him, and he's generated a little buzz. And apparently they're tired of Mike Glennon and what he doesn't offer. So we should see, for some reason, turn your volume down if you don't like curse words because it's about to come. But we just play really shitty in Soldier Field. I think in the last 7 seasons, we've won once there. Even with Favre, we didn't win that year. I remember Aroma Shadu made a crazy, weird catch and won the game for him. But we played really shitty in Soldier Field the last couple of years. And I think we won 2 years ago with Diggs pretty much winning it for us at the end of the game with Teddy. But they always seem to have an advantage over there. So I'm hoping that he doesn't bring the hype and all the good stuff they've been talking about with him. But it should be an interesting game. And guys that know, next week it's going to be a feature game because it's going to be Monday Night Football. So we get an extra day of rest, if that's a positive to any of you that care.
Any chance the Vikings can get to game plan a little bit extra to try to plan to make things horrible for a rookie quarterback in his first start? It's something, but the way history's been going, you're right. Those rookie quarterbacks getting a first shot against Minnesota have had a lot of success in the past. So hopefully that'll be something that changes up next week.
I want to hit on something real quick before we do our game review because it's pretty simple. We are, if you can believe it, already 1/4 of the way down, and it's been a weird year for the Vikings. Sam Bradford balled out. Then Case Keenum has to come in for 3 games. Not so good game. Game of his career, not so good game. And Mike Zimmer added up really pretty proficiently and in the Mike Zimmerist way possible. Somebody said, how do you assess the quarter of the year so far? He's like, I assess it as we're 2-2. So that was pretty damn funny. It made me chuckle. But if you can believe it, that's the first stretch of the game. So we have wins against the NFC South, against New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Fortunately, we lost to the Lions and the Steelers. So we're at 2-2. The next 4 games, the Bears, the Packers, the Ravens, and the Browns. So got a weird onslaught of games. And then we have the Week 9 bye after that London game in Week 8. So just to prepare you guys, I cannot believe it. We're already 1/4 of the way done with the season. That is depressing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, next week the Vikings take on the Bears. Week after that is the Packers. So that's all 3 NFC North opponents within those 3 weeks, which is going to mean a lot heading into the division race because a loss to the Lions already puts them a little bit behind the 8 ball.
I read today, and I'm not sure if it was you guys that sent it in the chat or if it was on some other outlet. It might have been ESPN or Fansided. But the Vikings losing to the Lions yesterday went from a 40-something chance to win the NFC North all the way down to 21% now.
Yeah.
So
it'll do it. You lose to Detroit.
Depressing. But yeah, since we're talking about it, let's get into this game. Yesterday there was a football game. The Lions came to Minnesota. It was a crazy, weird, ugly game. Lots of mistakes on our part. Lots of missed opportunities. We ended up falling 14-7. We always do game balls and donkeys before we actually break the game down. So if you guys want to jump into that, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. That's fine. My game ball goes to Andrew Sendejo. Andrew Sendejo was all over the field, making tackles, led the team with 11 total tackles, 5 of them solo. He even rushed up and made an assist on a tackle for a loss. Sendejo, of course, the rangy safety who's supposed to be playing the midfield, but he made some great reads, made some great tackles, and at a time when other players weren't quite as sure-handed at making tackles because there was some sloppy tackling going on, Sendejo was solid.
Yeah, Andrew Sendejo definitely had a great game. I like that choice. I'm going with Mr. Linval Joseph, the big goon himself, because this guy also was making plays left and right. A tackle for loss, a sack for the big man, 6 solo tackles and 9 total tackles. Linval Joseph was getting his yesterday. So
I almost gave it to him, but then I saw the Amir Abdullah averaging 4.7 yards per carry, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, it was weird. We'll talk about that more, especially because the defense is so good, but in some stat lines it's not going to appear that way. But got to credit the big guy yesterday. I mean, he's still one of the best at his position, and he showed it yesterday for the most part. So, Linval, you get my game ball.
Absolutely.
I went with Daniil Hunter for my game ball. He came away with 2.0 sacks on the game. Like Adam said before we started recording, he is like a player from another planet. He's just a physical freak of nature. And you got to see him unleash a little bit against Detroit. Yeah, Hunter, I agree with Scott in the chat. Hunter, he was a monster, an absolute monster.
Yeah, Hunter getting his first and second sacks of the season finally. I believe that a lot of that came because I think that Everson Griffin got into their head. I think that when he called Robinson that left tackle lazy and they added the extra person in there to chip at him every once in a while,
yep,
Hunter was getting those clear paths every once in a while. And whether it was a holding penalty or a running back to help out, Hunter had a fantastic game.
Oh, I have breaking NFL news, if you guys would let me break it on the show. For the guys listening in the YouTube chat, Raiders quarterback Derek Carr has a transverse prostate.
Boom.
He is back, and it will miss at least 2 weeks, all the way up to 6 weeks.
Wow.
That sucks if you're a Raider fan because they were supposed to take you to the promised land this year, and they look pretty pedestrian. That's not going to help you at all. But, damn, that sucks. Get better, Derek Carr. That's terrible. He's a bright young man.
That's a rough situation there.
He was a bright young man, and I'm so disappointed in myself. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this because me and Kyle West have to talk about this. My donkey goes to Pat Shurmur for doing that freaking stupid Wildcat play.
I thought you liked the Wildcat, Mr. West.
Oh,
I liked the Wildcat like 4 years ago, Adam.
Yeah, with Robert Griffin III or somebody like that. No, well, and I'm not going to blame it on Pat because he's not on the field, but he is half to blame for one of the turnovers yesterday, which was awful. So at no point should Jerick McKinnon be taking direct snaps. Ever. Period, point blank. I don't know why Mike Zimmer hasn't went in there and slapped him in the face and be like, stop it.
Yash says he heard the thunder from my end here where the thunder went off. He said he heard it 5 seconds later at his place.
Oh, that was thunder?
Yeah.
I thought somebody was like rattling stuff when I said, oh, breaking news for the NFL. I didn't know that was legit thunder.
No, that was thunder.
You have to be safe. But yeah, Pat Shurmur, you get my I mean, there was a lot of sloppiness there. Case Keenum had a bad game. There were some fumbles and turnovers, whatever. But I just, for the life of me, can't understand when you see Jerick McKinnon back there, like, hey guys, this is what we're about to do. If you guys want a game plan for it really quick.
The thing about the Wildcat is that I can understand it when you lack skill position players. When you're trying to manufacture yardage because you have nothing else working, you want to go to a Wildcat, you want to go to some trickery, fine. I can understand that. But we have good skill players in Minnesota. Thielen, Diggs, I know that Cook was out, I think, at that point in the game. But the Vikings were still moving the ball. They were having success. They weren't having as much as they were the previous week, but they were having success moving the ball and going to it at that point in the game, getting that turnover. That the Vikings lost all the momentum, and they were never able to come back from it. It was game over at that point.
Now, when you were talking about the Vikings being able to move the ball, there's a little bit of skepticism as to whether or not that's actually accurate. Because while the Vikings did outgain the Lions in total offense, 284 yards to 251, The ability to pick up first downs was just not good. The Vikings picked up 15 first downs, but when it came to third down situations, it got really bad until late in the game.
So
3 for 10 efficiency on third down.
We shot ourselves in the foot. If you guys didn't watch this game yesterday, I'm going to be honest with you. And, if I have Detroit people that listen to this, whatever, you can have your opinion. That's your right. Detroit didn't beat us yesterday. We beat ourselves. And I don't know how else to put it. When you turn the ball over 3 times, and we never had good field position because we could, like you said, couldn't convert on third down. Case Keenum was all over the place, much like he was 2 weeks ago against the Steelers. Credit the Lions defense because their Lions defense is no joke.
No, not at all.
Our defense got to Matt Stafford 6 times and sacked him. They hit him a lot too. So it's not like we weren't doing our job on that end. But dude, when you have 3 stupid turnovers like that, and I believe when we had, I think at least 2 of those turnovers were on our side of the field. So, I mean, when you just give up field position like that, you're not going to do anything. And Mike Zimmer talked about that today. When you give up turnovers and you don't create any yourself, you make it really, really hard to win a football game for yourself. So
it is a strange positive that despite turning the ball over that many times, having a serious injury, and then making some boneheaded play calling, that the Vikings were able to hang in there with the Detroit Lions, who are a solid NFL team.
Yep, 3-1.
Absolutely nothing taken away from the Detroit Lions. But to stay within a touchdown the entire game, the defense played absolutely lights out football. And if the offense could have moved the ball and made that field goal even, it would have been a much different game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well jump into that too. Kai Forbath missed a field goal.
You sounded so depressed the way you read that.
I can't be mad. I'm at the point with our kickers too. Like, I'm not mad at Kai Forbath because it's kind of like, what he is. I know that he doesn't have the strongest leg, but I mean, I don't know. In full circle with the special teams, Jeff Flock was punting for the Lions yesterday, which is super weird to see. That was odd. I'm trying to get the stat on this. I can't. It doesn't say from where he missed the field goal, how far away it was.
No, it only shows if they make.
Yeah, well, he didn't miss the extra point, so I guess that's a positive question mark. I don't know.
But let's talk again about another situation that kind of got me where I almost wanted to give a donkey, but I didn't know who to give it to. There was a situation where the Vikings used a timeout on third down, and then it came to be fourth down. It was 4th and inches. Now, of course, the Vikings were going to try to get the Lions to jump off sides.
Right.
And they put a player in motion, and the linebacker moved over to the side. And after that, there was a big gap right between the 2 defenders where the center and the left guard could have made a little hole, and it would have been an easy first down. And instead of taking that opportunity, the Vikings called a second timeout and punted.
Yep.
And to me, that exchange right there would be so deflating, especially if, you're the defense on the sidelines that are just trying to catch your breath. And you're like, oh, man, now I've got to go back in. And all they had to do is pick up an inch, and the Lions were giving it to them. And it got even worse because once that hole opened up, Keenum motioned him back to cover up the gap. What? Oh, man. That was just one of the most frustrating moments of the game where I sat here staring at my TV being like, what is happening? Why is this going on?
When you see that as a fan and it's that glaring, I'm sure it came up today in the film review. I'm not going to lie. I know we're down to a second-string quarterback, and I don't know, Dalvin Cook is out for the year now, so you have a lot against you. But it's just not very Mike Zimmer to do something like that when you're that close. If it's 4th and a whole yard, I could see you maybe trying and then backing out. But if it's 4th and inches, I feel like you have to go for it.
It's that presentable. In your headset, the coach should be saying, snap it, go, sneak, sneak, sneak.
Yes.
I know, because New England does that all the time with Tom Brady. It's like they can sneak Tom Brady and get that 4th and inches
Tommy
conversion.
Gunn says the only person that gets fooled on those 4th down plays is Brian Robinson.
Which is correct.
Oh.
Or Everson Griffin on a third down that's crucial when you don't need a penalty. And then there he is, jumping off sides again.
Yeah, he got caught by a hard count.
Again.
At home. I mean, come on.
Okay, that's the funniest thing that I've heard the whole show. At home. Yeah, you know what? Man. Let's talk about this too, coming around full circle. Again, special team. The stupidity of the Wildcat thing that we don't need to do anymore. You know what was great last year? One of my favorite plays? When we were in Green Bay. Or no, it was 2 years ago. We were in Green Bay to win the division. It's the last game of the season, I believe. And we do that fake punt, and Adam Thielen goes for like 49 yards. Where's that been? I want to see that again. You haven't pulled that one out in a year or two.
While we're talking about special teams, let's talk about taking a knee on kickoffs because that needs to happen.
Derek hasn't listened to the show.
A good return gets the Vikings 2 extra yards. Otherwise, it's like at the 10 or the 5th. No, take the knee.
That's the worst part of yesterday. I think, honestly, the worst part, the field position we start. How many times did we start in the 15 or the 10 or less?
Since I was born. That's just what the Vikings do. Every single time. And no other team in the NFL has to start as far back as what the Vikings do. We have to have a record for that.
Oh, it's bad. Ever since they moved that out to encourage teams to take knees, players are like, well, I can still take it out and get about there. No, you can't.
Just don't.
No, you can't. The time of possession, the Lions absolutely dominated. Over 36 minutes compared to 23-33 for Minnesota. And that's because the offense could not stay on the field. That's a lot of time for the defense to be out there. Just not a good situation for pretty much anybody involved. Penalties, boy, there were a lot of flags flying.
Flags fly free.
The Lions were flagged 6 times for 60 yards. And it's got the Vikings 2 times for 10 yards, but that don't seem right. Vikings feel like they were getting flagged a lot more than that during the game.
Now that we're on the subject of flags, I just want to say that if you watched the game yesterday in full frustration as I did, the refs were letting these guys play. Now, I do believe, in my heart of hearts, I try not to be a homer, I do believe that they were calling some stuff in favor of the Lions versus calling some stuff for us. I'm just going to let you know, I think there was about 3 missed PI calls against our guys. And it was very, very frustrating. I'm not going to say that's –
I'll say I saw 1 missed pass interference call. There was one on Diggs that everybody was calling for, but it looked like he lost his footing and the contact was minimal. And I got slammed on Twitter for saying, hey, guys, I don't think that was a penalty. Apparently I'm supposed to kind of be a homer here and just say everything's a penalty.
It's penalty for you saying it's not a penalty.
But I do want to go back because I did not name my donkey of the week, and I saw a comment in the chat, and I got to come back to it.
Sorry about that. That was I take full blame for that.
But my donkey came from the same play, or, well, overall play in general. My donkey of the week was Jerick McKinnon. 2 carries for 0 yards. He gained 4 on one, lost 4 on the other. Targeted twice in the passing game. Didn't catch either of them. And then he fumbled on the Wildcat play. So Jerick McKinnon did not do anything to improve his stock at all during this game. And it's a shame because he's probably going to see an increased workload now. And we know that he can be a productive runner, and he can be an effective pass catcher out of the backfield.
I think he's a better pass catcher, I'll be honest with you.
But it neither happened in this game.
Anybody else agree with me in that? Anybody in the chat? I think Jerick McKinnon catches passes better than he runs the ball.
Very possible. Absolutely very possible.
I don't know. I think he's a great check down option, but I don't know that he's got I don't know if he has the size to be running as hard.
Yeah, I think they need to get his confidence built back up. I think that season that him and Matt Asiata just did horrible for this team behind that offensive line. I think that kind of hurt his confidence a little bit, and I think he's still trying to get it back a little bit.
Let's talk about the Lions' offense being held because the Vikings' defense held the Lions to 3.7 yards per play. The Lions got to the red zone 3 times and only converted once. So all in all, you got to hand it to this defense because they did everything they needed to do to help give the Vikings a win. But The offense just could not get it done.
It's such a stifling defense. It just surprises me how much you think from 2 years ago. Man, could they be really good? Last year they were really good. I know that we fell off a little bit in the second half, but just they're consistently just a problem for people. And you got to give it credit too. They were talking about it yesterday. You would think that not having Calvin Johnson would be an issue. That's not an issue. Matt Stafford actually looks good. He lost a little bit of weight. He's making better decisions. Give credit to their offensive coordinator.
His bank account's looking pretty good too.
Yeah, that too. Forgot that he's the highest paid player in the NFL right now. But yeah, I think the whole combo and things what they're doing in Detroit is right. It's trending upward. They have good playmakers. A lot of them besides Golden Tate you probably don't know of or have heard of, but they've got playmakers everywhere. It's not the same old, we're playing the Lions, it's an automatic win. This is 3 losses in a row against Detroit. So they're not an easy outing anymore. But like you were saying, credit to the defense, man. Our defense is just – they're good.
The secondary didn't let any Lions receiver get more than 45 yards, which they've been doing a great job in containing all these guys. In the past, Golden Tate has been a thorn in the side of the Minnesota Vikings, and he got held to 3 catches for 29 yards. The biggest damage dealer was early on. Darren Fells looked like he was going to be unstoppable, but then he kind of disappeared. And I do have to admit that I thought Amir Abdullah was like out of the NFL before I saw him come back this season. And he exploded on the scene with 20 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. And then in the receiving game, he caught 3 balls for 15. So Abdullah's coming back in a big way, and I like seeing players come back and have great seasons after they miss some time. So great on him, but hopefully we can get some of that kind of rebound action in Minnesota as well.
Yeah, I hope so too.
So let's dive into the stats here. We got Case Keenum, 16 for 30, which that's not going to impress a lot of Vikings fans. As we said last week, with Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford, and even Case Keenum the previous week, we saw these really crazy completion percentages that made it feel like any time a pass was incomplete, like it was the end of the world, just because the efficiency has been so high lately. Keenum still ended up with 219 yards, averaging 7.3 yards per completion. Was sacked twice for 22 yards. QBR of 46.3 and a quarterback rating of 76.9. Not a fantastic day from Case Keenum, even though he was afforded some time. He missed some big throws that he normally would make, but he wasn't assisted either by some pretty bad drops.
Yeah, I got to do him some favors. There's a reason why he's a backup quarterback, and so that means that our skill position players are going to have to step up their game a little bit if they have to rely on Case long term.
Stephon Diggs flirted with 100 yards, but didn't quite seal the deal. Ended up with 98 yards on 5 catches. Thielen had 5 catches for 59. Then we got Rudolph with 2 for 34, but he didn't show up till a little later in the game. The Belldozer, Blake Bell, had 1 catch for 12.
Yeah, the Belldozer.
Fantasy points.
The Belldozer. As I said before, McKinnon was targeted twice and caught nothing. Latavius Murray caught both of his targets, picking up 8 yards. And DALVIN Cook was targeted 3 times, caught 1 for 8 yards. Overall, receiving, as we kind of figured, the 2 top targets were going to be Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. And that's the way it's probably going to be for the rest of the season heading on out.
Shout out to Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. They were number 2 and number 3 in the league. Adam Thielen was 2nd. Stephon Diggs was 3rd. After this week, as long as no one from the Chiefs has a 400-yard game, because I don't think they're in the top 5, Stephon Diggs is leading the NFL in the first quarter with receiving yards, averaging just shy of 400 yards. Averaging just shy of 100 yards a game, almost 400 yards on 4 games this year. Adam Thielen is currently in 3rd. So who saw that coming?
And right between them is Antonio Brown, right?
Yep.
And Antonio Brown,
That's crazy.
He should get some yards for tossing that water bottle, right? The big water jug.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Upset.
That had to be heavy.
He was slightly upset.
Yeah, he was a little frustrated, we'll say, during the game. Let's move on to rushing. DALVIN Cook carried the ball 13 times for 66 yards, averaging 5.1 and scoring the only Vikings touchdown on a play where he could have salsa danced into the end zone. He had such a wide gap to run through. Riley Rafe sealed off his guy, and then you got Nick Easton, who not only blocked a guy, but positioned him so that the defender couldn't get past. It was a fantastic block. I made sure to give him a shout-out on Twitter because he absolutely deserved it. The announcers were talking about what a great job Riley Rafe did, of course, because it was his former team, the Lions, but that block by Nick Easton just absolutely sealed that off and made that such an easy touchdown. Latavius Murray carried the ball 7 times for 21 yards, and as I said before, McKinnon gained nothing on 2. And the fumbles, all 3 fumbles were lost. Thielen, McKinnon, Cook. It's hard to blame Cook for his fumble because when your knee is exploding.
Yeah, I was going to say Cook gets the benefit of the doubt a little bit on this one.
And the play where Thielen, he caught the ball, he was bringing it in. It was an excellent play by the defender to reach around, slap that ball out. There's really not much you can do in a situation like that. You can try to hold on to the football as hard as you want, but if you're not expecting that hand to come around you, what can you do? And, of course, we've got the fumble on the Wildcat, which I think we covered that play enough.
I got a question in the chat. Why was Brown so mad? Why did he knock over that water jug thing? I guess I don't know. What happened?
Okay, there was a play.
There was very little that I heard. He is not getting targeted as much as he wants. That's what I was.
There was a play where the one wide receiver crossed over, and Brown cut up and out, and he was wide open. And Ben Roethlisberger didn't see him. And he would have had an easy, I'd say 60-some yard touchdown, because there was absolutely nobody there. And he went over the sidelines, and he was just mad. He threw the water jug. Assistant coach came over, put his hand on his shoulder, tried to talk him out of it. Brown brushed his arm off. He was visibly upset. And I understand that you're that competitive and you want to win that bad. You want to make big plays for your team. But sometimes it can be hard to contain that emotion, and he needs to do a little bit more of that.
Millennials.
That's it.
That's pretty much it.
Guys, that's the end of the podcast for this week.
Yeah.
So we covered the top 2 tacklers from this week. Sendejo got my game ball. Linval Joseph got Mr. Smith's. Following that, we got Barr and Smith tied with 6 apiece. Then Kendrick, Swains, and Hunter and Griffin all with 5. And Rhodes with 4. Sacks, the sack party came out. ESPN has 5, but I believe that it was a total credit of 6, so there might be one missing here. But Linval Joseph has 1, Eric Kendricks has 1, Danielle Hunter 2, Everson Griffin with 1. And then we've got passes defensed, which there are a couple 1s everywhere, no real standouts in that category. Quarterback hits, Everson Griffin got 3 hits on Matt Stafford, which is pretty awesome. Danielle Hunter with 2, of course, those are the sacks that he registered. But Linval Joseph, Eric Kendricks, Tom Johnson all got in and got a lick on Stafford as well. The Vikings did not have any takeaways during the game. McKinnon averaged 27 yards on 3 kick returns, which is not fantastic. He had a long of 32, and that was the one that got him out to the 27, which was the only time I believe they started past the 25 all game. Punt returns, Marcus Sherrills had 4 for 16 yards. The Lions did a great job of swarming him as soon as the ball came to him. And I don't know if anyone else is still here. I don't know if I'm talking to myself.
I am here. I was just thinking about Marcus Sherrills yesterday. I was yelling at the TV because nothing was going our way offensively. I was like, all right, Marcus, it's time for your 1 of 2 games a year where you make a crazy play.
I have a dog barking in the background. I had to put my microphone on mute.
A distracting doggy.
Yep.
If I'm letting the thunder rain, you can let your dog bark. Ryan Quigley, 5 punts, averaging 40, 2 inside the 20. Pretty decent day for Quigley. But Jeff Locke, 7 punts for averaging 46.4 with 3 inside the 20. That's a better day.
Screw you, Jeff Locke.
Jeff Locke revenge game.
I still support Jeff Locke. I thought that he deserved a longer look in Minnesota. I don't know what happened, if there was something behind the scenes or if he just wanted to move on or what the deal was there. But I was hoping to see him stay in Minnesota and continue developing, because I thought that he was really kind of coming into his own after he changed the way he was punting. But
I mean, I don't think the punter that we have now is any better or any worse than Jeff Locke. I really don't know what they accomplished other than maybe not having to sign Locke to a bigger contract.
Maybe. You never know. You never know. All right, so that is in a nutshell what happened with the Detroit Lions heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. This loss, of course, moves the Vikings to 2-2 and third place in the NFC North behind the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers.
Tommy Gunn, Jeff Locke had a better revenge game than Adrian Peterson. God,
Wow.
It's true.
I'm not wrong. He did.
That is just the truth.
Plot twist. Adrian Peterson's coming back to the Vikings to take revenge on all of you.
Oh, no, come on.
What?
This is what we do have to talk about, though.
Let's talk about
there are
that.
a lot of rumblings about the Vikings bringing in a running back.
Every week we have Viking fandom. When we're on top of the world, we're going to the Super Bowl. And then when we have a bad game, it's, okay, Dalvin Cook's down. Can we sign Adrian Peterson back? What? What did you say? All of you guys were so hyped on the Dalvin Cook train, and now you want to bring back AP, who is not going to fit this system and scheme whatsoever. No.
All right, so who are the Vikings going to bring in? Let's hear one name from each of you guys.
Someone from the practice squad. I can't think of any free agent running backs who are just chilling right now.
Matt Asiata's out there.
Joe Banyard. What happened to him?
He's on a roster.
Is he?
Yeah. My opinion is that the Vikings are going to sign absolutely nobody.
That's it, and that's how it should go.
Because the third running back on the team is going to be C.J. Ham.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to bring in another player. They're already carrying 4 running backs.
Marshall Walker.
Oh, we got a nice list going here in the chat.
All right, what are some of the names?
Percy Harvin, Eddie Lacy, Greg Jennings.
Christ.
It was nice to see Greg Jennings tweet out, though, that he hopes for a full and speedy recovery from Dalvin Cook, though. He's still following the team and really showing some purple love, so it's great.
Doesn't he live in Minnesota? I think he lives there.
He does. He does live here.
That should say something.
Who was the running back that the Browns drafted that sucked?
Trenty Richardson, Trenty Locks?
Yeah, Trent Richardson. There's my pick.
I'm done with this show. I'm leaving.
Hey, if Tim Tebow won't play fullback, he won't play running back, so you might as well not even recommend him.
Ugh. Absolutely nobody. That's who I'm going with. We have 3.
Yeah, I don't see anybody coming in. I've been seeing things where the Vikings should be trying to trade a 4th rounder to the Saints for Adrian Peterson back. It's like, really? Why?
Just stop. Just watch the film. Look,
Adrian Peterson would love being a featured back again, though.
Yes, he would. You know what? That's on him because he didn't want to take a pay cut, and then you signed with one team who throws the ball for 5,000 yards every year. You can go. You did this to yourself. You shit that bed. Now you roll around in it and you lay in it. You're not coming back to us. We don't want you. You can come back to us when you retire. You can sign a 1 day as a Viking. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, then you go in the Vikings Ring of Honor, and then everybody's okay.
That's fine.
And then you not make the Hall of Fame because the end of your career is just not working out the way it should for a Hall of Fame player. But that's another rant for another day.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Look at Frank Gore. Frank Gore is still getting it done. What's Peterson doing?
Facts. He's not in the right system. I mean, I'll give that to him. He's not in the right system. He's a freak of nature athletically, but he's just not a good fit in New Orleans. But I guess when that's the only team that'll sign you, you either that or sit on your couch, then I guess that's what you got to do. But I don't know.
So this week, our social media question doesn't exist. We are probably going to try to get one for next week.
Yes,
those can be kind of fun.
I take full responsibility for slacking off.
But I do want to take a minute to plug Undead Walking, of course. Fear the Walking Dead just had an amazing episode that blew my mind. I don't know if any of you guys joined me for the live reactions and chat, kind of like this while I watched Fear the Walking Dead, but it was an episode that I just absolutely didn't see coming at all. And I recommend you guys check out Undead Talking on YouTube for those kind of videos. Undead Walking, where I got my articles about The Walking Dead along with the rest of my team, which is just a lot of fun. I like talking about those zombies. But if you're here because you like the Vikings, then you should be. Otherwise, I'm not sure why you'd be here. But I still appreciate you coming if you're not a Vikings fan. But check me out on the Viking Age. We're always trying to get new stuff up, trying to tackle things from angles that a lot of the other media aren't. I know a lot of the things that we post sometimes aren't the most popular, but we do have some very opinionated people on our staff, which is good, because it's good to have bold opinions sometimes and approach things from different angles. Me, like I've said before, I'm a more conservative guy when it comes to my kind of content. I like the positive news or just matter-of-fact stuff. But still, I appreciate anyone checking out the Viking Age. I believe that we've got Mr. Smith, who's planning on doing another cover here pretty soon. So if you have a nice song that you want to recommend for him to do a cover of, let us know in the chat or on our social media channels, and we'll be sure to let him know.
I bought a nice microphone. I need to go grab a pop filter before I get started to trying to record.
Ooh,
I have two new additions to my guitar family. I'll just segue this to my little rant for the end of the week. Tom Petty is not officially confirmed dead, but he was in full cardiac arrest. He's a legendary rock star, and I am just so shocked by that. It's been an awful year for musicians going down. I believe he's on life support, so he's still fighting, but
yeah, he's not expected to make it through the night.
Not looking good. He's definitely one of my all-time favorites. He's a legend. Not many people have done it like he has. So prayers to all of his family, because that's just shocking. He's only 66. He's not that old, so I hope that he pulls off a miracle and he's still alive, because the music community is definitely going to miss him. I just want to throw out thoughts and prayers to Las Vegas. If you guys didn't hear last night, there was a Jason Aldean country concert, and some asshole 32 floors up decided to open up with a fully automatic weapon, and he killed over 50 people. He injured even more. Not that this has anything to do with me, but I don't take a stance on this kind of shit, because I'm in the military, and that's domestic terrorism 101. And I don't know. I haven't looked into it because I refuse to let the media cloud negativity. It's not because I don't care about the victims. I do. I have my deepest thoughts and condolences to anyone affected by that, because it's innocent lives lost, and we don't deserve that. I don't know the details on what happened to the shooter. I heard through friends that he committed suicide. Speaking of musicians earlier, if you commit suicide because you're depressed, I think that there's a real issue that needs to be talked about there. I don't think that you're a coward. If you go out and kill 50 people with an automatic weapon and then you take your own life, I hope you burn in hell for the rest of eternity. You're a piece of shit as a person. I don't feel bad for you. I don't care what's going on up here. That's a conscious effort, and that's pre-planned and premeditated. I know that I heard that ISIS was taking credit for that. Another topic for another day. I don't think we should ever speak about ISIS in the media again. I'm not going to give those assholes any credit. We're beating you. We're always going to beat you because you're terrible and you suck at life. And the U.S. of A. is always going to kick your ass. So I'm not going to give them any credit than we have to do. But to shorten this rant right now, I'm really sorry and praying for the whole city of Las Vegas. Innocent people don't deserve to die. And it's just a whole tragedy. And we're going to have an even bigger of an outcry because of weapons and gun control. And this is just a crazy person who got a hold of a gun. I don't think that guns are the issue here. I think it's crazy people who have them. But I'm just really sad. Today's a really rough day on top of a crappy day for the Vikings yesterday. But
we actually can translate this into a little bit of Vikings news, because U.S. Bank Stadium recently fired their entire security staff because of lax measures and letting in too many items that weren't allowed to be there. And they've replaced them with a business or firm that is much more strict when it comes to that kind of thing. And I believe it is to prevent this kind of thing from happening at U.S. Bank Stadium. And to me, I hate seeing a situation arise where something like that has to be done. But for the player safety, for the fan safety, for everybody's safety, the families out there, human beings, everyone, necessary precautions need to be made. And I'm glad to see that change.
Yeah, we were joking about it just to kind of bring a little humor and light to it. I've been in 10 years in the military, and it's in my job title. Security is in my job title. So the Vikings, if you want to hire a guy, I'll work for cheap. If you give me season tickets, we can work this out. But it sounds like they did the right thing. That's definitely a location that if I was a piece of crap and wanted to target people, it's definitely a nice, fancy new place with exposure to a lot of people in a closed area.
Especially with the Super Bowl coming up.
Yeah, exactly. So
everything's going to need to be on high alert.
I think the Vikings did the right thing, and that would make me feel safer as a fan if you hired a new staff and you were aggressive in the approach to heighten security rather than let it be lax. So good on them.
Absolutely. And that's all I have for this week. You guys have anything else you want to end with?
That's it.
Mr. West?
I think we should just thank everyone for taking the time to come and join us.
We got a great showing in the chat.
We do, and we know that the news is a horrible place right now. And I know that there's a lot of controversy that goes on over football as well, too. But football is still our passion and our hobby and our pastime. And so it's nice that we can come together as Vikings fans and celebrate something that gives us joy. And there's not enough of that going on right now. So I think that it's important for all of us to get together and have fun for an hour and rag on the Vikings, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think it's important that we continue to do this.
Well, let's end the show on a positive note. Let's talk about some of the ways that the Minnesota Vikings can transcend the situation they're in and still be a really competitive team going forward.
Sure.
Firstly, that defense is going to be hell for anyone to wreck with. They've been making quarterbacks' lives miserable, and the play on that back end by the cornerbacks has been absolutely fantastic. The Vikings will be able to stay in a lot of games just because they're able to hold their opponents to so few points.
I'll make a bold prediction right now. We'll do it in increments. I try to steer away from the generic stuff about players predicting stats and stuff, but I'm going to base this on the teams that we're facing in the next 4 weeks. I can see us getting wins in Chicago against the Ravens and against the Browns. I'll leave a question mark in the air depending on who we have at quarterback for the Packers, because anytime you play Aaron Rodgers, you know it's going to be a tough outing. But, I could see the Vikings going 3-1 over these next 4 games, and I'm going to stick with that.
Ooh.
I think that Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are as good of a Vikings receiving core that we've had since Chris Carter and Randy Moss, and they will continue to dominate for the remainder of the season.
And now you're adding another piece to that mix as well,
which
could be a really cool thing. Really cool.
You guys stay tuned, because within the next quarter up to the bye week at week 9, which is so amazing, we got the perfect bye week. But be on alert. I won't say anything too crazy right now, but with the running back situation, we're going to see if Latavius can figure out his role and get the rust off. But, man, we got a quarterback dilemma coming up here soon, and it's going to be interesting. I won't say it's going to be fun. I won't say it's going to be good, but Teddy's going to be better.
It'll be interesting. It was fun talking to everyone in the chat today, because no matter what we're talking about, the A topic is always Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He's a fan favorite. He's a locker room favorite. And if he is 100% healthy, I'm sure he hasn't just been working out and not looking at the playbook and not seeing how the offense runs. It's going to be interesting if Bradford still can't play, and then we're just back to square one. So
let's finish up by talking about the Yahoo Survival League, where 13 strikes were handed out. Most of them were because a lot of people chose the Atlanta Falcons this week.
Nobody saw that coming. Who said Buffalo's going to go in there and spank the Falcons this week?
I will say that nobody chose Buffalo this week. Nobody did. We did have some bold people picking Minnesota, though. We got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 people chose Minnesota, and that didn't quite work out too well. The other one that got some people they chose Jacksonville to win, and that didn't quite work out too well for them either.
Though I do believe our returning champion is still undefeated.
Yeah, he picked the Arizona Cardinals, who needed overtime, and that not only did the game go to overtime, but the Cardinals were down 3 in overtime after a field goal, came back and scored a walk-off touchdown to win the game. So we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams with no strikes. after this week. So they're going to be hard to catch, but it's not impossible. Make sure you make your picks over on the Yahoo site so that you don't get a strike for not making a pick, because that's the worst way to get a strike. At least pick something. But again, good luck to everyone who's still in the running for some Vikings prizes. We still haven't picked what we're going to end up giving to you guys, but whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be a pretty cool little gift.
The winner has to donate their ACL to DALVIN Cook.
Oh,
dear God! Somebody say something, and it was Kyle West.
Yeah.
I try to end it on a positive note, and here you go and do that. I tell you. Well, I guess that's all we have for this week.
That's all I got. Thanks for everybody.
I'd like to thank all you guys for joining us in the chat. Hope you check us out on social media at Purple Pod on Twitter, Purple People Podcast. I believe it's the Purple People Podcast on Facebook. I think we've got a the.
We do. We have a the.
By.
You can check out our personal accounts as well.
You can type it in Facebook at Purple People Podcast, but the official title is the Purple People Podcast.
The. On that note, thanks again for coming, and remember, stay classy, Minnesota.